minutes.
Well, this is really good. I think they're all here.
Well, what if somebody else wanted to come and they're not here yet? We need to wait till 5:30.
It takes me a couple minutes to get it going.
Yeah, that's when
Okay,
she starts her process.
okay. I didn't have to do that. You can't talk.
Yep.
Right?
I did spill a Coke down on the chin.
We'll have to just record it implicitly.
Okay. So if we make mistakes, you can edit, right?
You and I are gonna have words. And you just said it on an open recording that I said.
Can you give me a better face?
He was just teasing, for the record,
Just teasing for the record.
for the record.
Oh, there we go. Okay, I will call the meeting to order. Welcome to everyone who's here tonight. And if you would call the roll, please.
Mr. Goodman,
Yes.
Mr. Rocco,
Yes.
Ms. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Watkins,
Yes.
Ms. Baca,
Yes.
Mr. James,
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Okay, we are all here tonight. If you would all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and let's salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of Mexico, the sea is symbol of American Christian and all United cultures. Okay, our first order of business is approval of minutes from January 8th.
I'll make that motion that we approve the minutes from the January meeting. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the meetings from the January 8th meeting. All those approved, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed or abstained. Okay, so that passed. So new business, we have two new members, and so we need to do a recommendation for appointment of vice chair of the planning commission. I will entertain nominees for that position.
Well, I'm gonna shock somebody, but I would like to recommend that Lavorne do that. I think she would be very good at that. And I think she's got a good handle on what we want to do with planning and zoning and discussion with that.
Well, I was gonna recommend Beverly Bennett. She has a lot of experience. She's been on the committee for many years. Plus she has realty experience. And I think she would be the best to serve the chair.
Are you willing to do that?
Me?
Or both of you?
I'll do it. So, I was chairman. I'm willing to back him up.
I would really like
Well,
to.
I will
Step
withdraw,
back.
I will withdraw mine
Okay,
for your benefit.
so
Thank you.
then if Beverly agrees to the position, then we can do a just a unanimous vote on that.
With an exclamation.
Acclamation. So all those in favor of Beverly, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so Beverly, you're the vice chair.
Don't be.
So when
Don't
I'm
be-
gone, it'll be on you. Okay, our next order of business is public hearing for resolution PC number 2024-2025-02. a resolution providing for a vacation of right-of-way of 140 feet by 20 feet alley between Roosevelt County Electric Co-op, the old City Hall parking lot submitted by the Roosevelt County Electric Co-op. So at this time, I'll ask Ms. McClellan to give us the facts and finding.
Yes, sir, as you're aware that City Hall was donated to RCCGC for a parking lot and some electric car chargers. We do representative here, so I won't go into super detail, so you can cover that. The application is for the red alleyway right there to be vacated. We'll go to the next page. We sent this out, property owners, we had one for it, public utilities, we got one for it, and then one against it. The one against was from sanitation, because the post office has been requesting another dumpster, and their plan was to put that dumpster in that alley. Next page. So there are 4 utilities in the vacation, because we do 811, where we see what's there. We have a City of Portales sewer line, a New Mexico gas line, a Yucca Telecom underground line, and Excel electric power poles. So this, if vacation is approved, it'd be congruent or contingent on utility easements being granted from these companies to the applicant. The City of Portales is willing to do utility easement for their part. We did have some concerns from the US Post Service about the vacation. They did send us a letter because they weren't able to be here today, and they asked if I would read it. It is also in your packet. Let me pull it up real quick. Dear members of the Planning and Zoning Commission, I'm writing in response to a certified letter I received addressed to the property owner of 116 West First Street regarding an application for a vacation of a right-of-way for a 140 by 2 feet of the alley between the Roosevelt County Electric Co-op and the Portales Original Subdivision. The United States Post Service is located at 116 West First, and I am the postmaster, Shelley Austin. The USPS is protesting the proposed action for the following reasons. We received anywhere from 4 to 7 transport trucks a day with mail and packages. These trucks range in size from box trucks to full 53-foot semis. Our dock, including ground anchored left, is located on the back east side of the building. These trucks use the alleyway in question to drive in and out of USPS. This is the only option they have. A 53-foot semi is not able to make the 90-degree right-hand turn needed to exit from First Street Thoroughway. Losing the alley access would be detrimental to postal operations. With the plans, RCEC has to build a parking lot with electrical car chargers immediately east of the post office. Our trucks will have no other way to exit the post office but through this alley in question. Number 2, currently there is one dumpster located in the alleyway in question. The Post Service utilizes this dumpster to the maximum extent daily possible. I have requested additional and/or larger dumpsters from the city. Due to the elevated curb surface along the postal portion of the alleyway, moving the dumpster further down the alleyway is not possible. This dumpster should not be removed but added to. Number 3, the Postal Services has 2 blue collection boxes in the alley. These are the only 2 boxes in Portales that allow customers to drive up and dispense their mail without dismounting their vehicle. These boxes are widely utilized by the elderly and disabled citizens of Portales. There is no other location around the post office that would accommodate customers not having to exit their vehicle to mail their items. And then lastly, Thoroughway from First Street has congestion issues. The Postal Service has already experienced several accidents with personal vehicles driving in and out of the First Street Thoroughway. By eliminating the alley in question, traffic via the Thoroughway will increase exponentially. Personal vehicles often park at the entrance and exit of the Thoroughway, as is the case right now as I'm writing this letter. By changing the flow of traffic from the alleyway to First Street, the possibility of traffic backing up on First will also increase. Thank you for the invitation to express our concerns in this letter. I wasn't able to reschedule a work obligation in Arizona the day you're meeting. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions you have. Shelley Austin, the postmaster. You go to the next page. All right, that is what I have for here. I'm happy to stand for any questions. And then, of course, we have someone here.
We need to go back. That's application 2.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's look at the map.
And then the vacation survey is also in your packet. That shows the specific vacation as well.
Any other questions for Ms. McClellan?
Before we speak further, I'd like to hear from Mr. Sylvia.
Well, I was gonna ask for that.
That's later.
Yes, please. You'll have to stand up and be sworn in.
Please state your name.
Do I need to raise my hand?
I'll ask you.
Oh, Eric, you go.
If you please raise your right hand.
Okay.
Do you swear to affirm that you will testify to prove your under law?
Yes.
Okay,
That
thanks,
was easy.
Mr. Sylvia. Could kind of explain what the REC is.
Yeah,
what their
so
thought is.
what the project is or what RCEC is?
No, what the project.
Okay, yeah, so Roosevelt County Electric Co-op was approached by the city. Long story, backstory of how we got to the conversation, but we were approached about taking over the old city hall building through the LEADER process. And the city was hoping to incorporate some new downtown parking and help out the co-op for some parking issues that we're having. Hoping to open up some other areas for us to build downtown truck storage by letting us move some parking. Also requested to have some electric vehicle charging stations put on the property, and then a nice sitting area for downtown. So we agreed to do that, went through the LEADER process. City council approved the LEADER process, and so now the transfer of property is pending the project being completed. And so part of the process, when we talked to Kelly and Sarah through the negotiations of getting all this started, was that we wanted to vacate the alleyway between City Hall and Roosevelt County Electric Co-op. I was told that there shouldn't be a problem, but that I would need to get through the LEADER process. That way we have something showing that we're going to get the property before I could actually apply for it. So that's where we're at now. I have heard of the concerns from the post office. Actually today, I wish I would have known sooner. I would have talked to her sooner. I reached out to the postmaster. Wasn't able to talk to her in person. Of course, as she said in her letter, she's out of town, but one of the workers there was able to let me talk to her on her cell phone. I think the project was misrepresented to them as to what was going to happen. They were under the impression that we're putting electric vehicle charging stations that would get in the way of their trucks. And if you look at the diagram there, we would actually put it on the what would be that top left corner, even though it's at a diagonal towards the middle. There's electrical facilities there coming into our building. The EV charging would come off of that with the box on the wall. You want to point to it? So our EV, our electrical comes in there here. We're gonna put a box on the wall and then have the EV charging up against our building to minimize the amount of electrical work that we would have to put into the project. What we were hoping to do is vacate the alley, expand the parking lot, and actually allow for more room for the postal truck to get through the parking lot. I don't know that it was represented to her that way, unfortunately. So once I talked to her, she said that we probably needed to speak further. But what we're hoping to do is be good neighbors and expand that parking lot, allow them more access, but also the electric co-op was wanting to put in 6-inch concrete to accommodate for their trucks, rather than put in 4-inch concrete that would only be cracking and we'd be sending a bill for. We're going to go ahead and put the 6-inch concrete in at our cost and not even have them pay for that. And so allow more space for them, allow the parking lot to accommodate for them. We're hoping to put some more post office parking into the project to where they actually have more parking along this path here. And I don't know that she knew that either. So we were wanting to expand access to the post office, expand access for their truck, move things out of the way and widen it out. Now, I do understand the concern for the dumpster. Sorry. There's also this portion of the electric co-op property where the post office parks personal vehicles. I let her know that, we could use that for the dumpster placement if we needed to. Of course, she didn't want us to move their personal parking off of our property for dumpsters either. So I think that there's something we could work out to turn those dumpsters and make those work. I do disagree with the access to the blue boxes. I think that we'd only slow traffic coming through there and they could still come around through that counterclockwise motion pathway through the property for the access to the, because we're only vacating half the alley. And then they'd have access through a counterclockwise way there. I think it would slow things down, make it safer. Our employees, we have a back door there, we open it and there's people flying through that alley. So I think it actually improved public safety. So do disagree with that point, agree with the dumpster point. And I wish we could have spoke a little bit more about the access for the trucks before the meeting, but that's the information that I have for now. Do you have any questions of me?
Explain to me, you're gonna move the charging stations into what is the alley right now?
That was the
Correct.
intent, yes, is to move them there. They'd be wall mounted stations, and so there'd be level 2 stations that the cords would come off the wall to the vehicles. And then we were hoping to actually move the parking out of the way to allow that truck better access through the. If you go through right there right now, the parking is actually not adequate to me. It's very narrow. If there's vehicles on either side, the city employees could tell you it's hard to get in and out of there. We're wanting to expand it out and allow, you know,
Actually
better
make
access.
that
through there.
alleyway a little
Yeah.
larger.
So how many electric charger stations are you gonna have?
A minimum of 2. We're getting pricing to see what we can do 4. I will say that you know, I'd have to go back to my board for further direction, but I would imagine that if this vacation doesn't go through, we're probably not going to go through with the project. I want to also represent that this isn't a free project. We may have got the building for free and the property for free, but we're at a $400,000 project to beautify downtown and to try to do things right. As one of our board members said, that if we're not able to make it look nice and do it right, we're not going to do it. And so I think that our project is pending this vacation, but I could reach out to the board for further information on that.
So you're gonna have parking, just 2 charging stations in what we see as the red now. And the rest of the red will be parking for your employees.
Member parking would be up against the building, and then we'd have a space, of course, adequate space in between to the next set of parking. And then it'd be employee parking during business hours, and then after hours, it'd be open to the public. And what we're wanting to do where the building sits now and a little bit smaller of a footprint is put a nice green area where people can come and sit and incorporate some downtown signage that points to all the downtown buildings and eateries and other shopping centers and areas to enjoy downtown Portales on a map there and help point people to our downtown.
So you're making a wider area between the 2 parking spots than what actually there
Yes.
right now.
Yes,
And you will give them access to the post office.
yes. And I do plan to meet with her when she gets back to town and really draw this out. She's asking for the post office, postmaster is asking for, you know, drawings. We don't really have drawings because we need to know if we're gonna have the space before we do the drawings. And so, but I would love to do a back of the napkin, so to speak, with her and see what we can alleviate some of her issues with that.
How does the post office access now?
I'll point to the diagram again. I don't know how they come in, but I always seem to see them leaving. But I know it probably right now, there's a truck parked facing this way. And I know when they leave, they'll come through the parking lot out. I'm not sure if they're coming in and reversing in. I'm not sure if they're pulling straight through. I'd imagine they're pulling straight through. Maybe that's why I've never seen them coming in. But I know there's about 5 o'clock every day, and I think they come 3 times a day. There's a truck facing in this direction sitting there. Her issue was, you know, she thought we were gonna put objects in the way here, and we're not. It'd just be open parking lot and actually widen that gap of the.
So actually, right now, they're coming through the parking lot and not through the alley when they exit.
I believe so. I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure how they enter.
When they exit through.
But I know when they exit, they go through, and I don't know that it was represented that they'd still have access to drive through that parking lot.
And so if
But
they're
they would
faced
have
that
to-
way.
But they would have to come around if a car is sitting there getting charged, they would have to come in the alley and go around that.
No, it'd be a
To
straight
get
back
out?
up.
No, the
Maybe
car would
right
be
there.
sitting in what is the red area now, and they'd be able to pull straight through the parking lot.
Right.
You're
If they're
talking
coming
about-
in from the old alley, coming in from going east. And if that's the way they're going in, coming in the alley this way and then backing in. And then they drive out to Main Street.
I would imagine,
I think they're coming off of A.
I'd imagine with the dumpster sitting right here with a pole, that's concreted into the ground, that they're more than likely not doing this motion now. They're more than likely coming in this way or coming in this way and then coming in. So again, I think we'd give them more access, not having the dumpster and the concreted in pipe there. The vehicles would be sitting here, remember that's a 20-foot wide area right there, so with slanted parking, the vehicle shouldn't come out past that red line. And should allow that access.
So it'd be a straight shot. It'd be a straight shot.
53 footer is backed up to the door.
I believe so.
Would it block the entrance into the alley from from First Street?
I don't think it does now. I can go review we have cameras in the back. I can go see where those trucks park exactly.
My concern, if we have a 53 footer and it's blocking the ingress into the back alley, nobody can get to that until it moves.
Well, I think that would still be an issue as of today, if they were doing that.
It is, except that the alley's still open where they can go there. Most people go to the
And
alley
I,
to get to
like I
those
said, I
two
don't
boxes.
think that it blocks that alleyway. But I can double check that.
See, and I don't. I go between the two buildings and access the boxes.
I was gonna ask, is there any post or anything on that 90-degree corner? Because we know. on some of our-
They're turning left.
Yeah,
into the-
turning left. coming
Uh,
out first.
the post office does have
There's a
probably, I'm estimating a 3 to 4 foot retaining wall there on their ramp.
There's a little ball.
But people turn there now. Our utility trucks turn through that alley.
Okay. I've just never made that turn in that direction.
So I'm assuming since the post office isn't here, what they do is they go down Main Street, come back between Roosevelt County Electric and your parking lot, come around and come down for A. And then go back up, back in there and then back out. And then when they exit right now, as you're saying, they're going through the parking lot because there's nothing there right now. Because there's
Well,
nothing.
I was
Even
told
when they're
that
cars.
when people are parked there, they often come and ask them to
So,
move so they can get
really
through. So this would
weren't using the
place them
alley-
out of the way.
That alley anyway. They were using the parking lot.
I don't believe so.
So,
You think they're using the alley?
no. I think
No,
were
they're using the parking lot. I don't think they're using the alley. But in all fairness, when I spoke to her on the phone, she said until she can see what we're drawing out, that she's standing by her letter. So I just want, you to know how the conversation ended. She's standing by her letter until we can speak further. And I want to be fair to her on that.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
So where does it put you if we table this until the next meeting for you guys to have a chance to have a meeting together and discuss that? Because I don't want to take a phone call word for that, even as well as I know you. I just, that.
Well, like I said,
that would bother me to do
She
that.
still had issues at the end of the phone call
So I'd
until
still
we
rather
can
you
resolve
two
it.
have a sit down conversation. And maybe we could see that napkin drawing so we could understand a little better. Because it looks to me like even if they come down the alley from A, they've got to make a little jog once you put those stations in and then back in. It may help them in some way.
Well, the stations will be mounted on the wall.
Right, but the cars that are gonna
I
charge
understand.
from it, which granted, I know we may not have any, but
Yeah.
some of
There's a couple.
them, that they would be where is the alley now, so.
I
So I
think,
think it can be worked out is my point, but could we table it so you guys can have a conversation? Where would that put you?
well, and I appreciate that. I think that probably the best course of action is to table it. But we do have contractors scheduled to start the abatement of asbestos in the building this week. So we'd be postponing that. But probably worth the postponement rather than to get into a project that may ultimately not work out. So
But it still has to go to council to be approved after it comes from here, which would be.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks, and if they couldn't start work this week until it gets approved by council.
the building transfer's already been approved by council, so we could start the abatement in the building. I'm not talking about work on the road.
Yeah.
No.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I think my concern is right there on the west side of where the city hall is. That is handicap parking and you got your handicap ramp on that side. And if you close that off, you're gonna get a lot more traffic in there. And what is that gonna do for the handicapped people's access?
Going across
Yes,
that street.
it's going to be,
Oh, the increased traffic.
it's gonna be increased traffic because it goes, the entrance goes to the north, and if they're having to go back there to those boxes, you're gonna have that increase of traffic.
But if I'm understanding correctly, when you get done, people could still come from Maine to get to those. It's just they're gonna come through the back part of that parking lot instead of the alley.
Think of the
It would almost, the
Be-
footprint of the parking lot would almost stay how it is. The building is actually gonna, footprint should shrink a little bit. But as far as flow of the parking lot, yes, you should be able to
You
access,
should be able to
access the
access
parking
through
lot
that.
from Main, or from First. And like I said, we were wanting to actually add parking for the post office there. You'd be surprised how many people park all the way up in front of our building just to come to the post office.
So you
And
won't
so we
do
see the need and
diagonal
wanted to help
parking
them out.
That's one way like it is now.
Well, that all depends on how much room we have to
Oh.
sketch it out.
Yeah.
And so, but we want to be good neighbors, and we want to only help the post office, see what we can do to make it work for both of us.
Well, I know it could probably put you in a little bit of a bind, but I think the best course of action would be to post the table it for the next meeting and then give you guys a chance to meet and bring that information back personally.
Yeah, because I'd like to hear from her exactly how those trucks come in
So if everybody's on it.
and goes out. Is
I'd
what I
like to
want
See
to
a scale drawing to see exactly where those trucks are gonna be sitting when you backed up to the post office compared to where all the handicap is. And the parking that they're talking about adding.
And I will say, I would have had a lot of this prepared for you. I didn't know there was an issue till this afternoon. I thought that they were on board. I was under the impression everything was good to go, so.
So only the handicap right now is at City Hall, old City Hall, right? Handicap parking.
I think there's 3 or 4 spots next to the handicap
Next to it.
parking that people park at as
They're
well.
still-
Right.
But
Okay.
currently today, people are using the whole parking
Handicap
lot.
Parking is right there, which is part of your property now, if you take it, and you're willing to let it continue to be handicap parking.
Yeah, we want it to
for-
be a
for the
downtown
post stop.
project,
So, I
helping
mean,
downtown. So.
They're bending over backwards, it looks like to me. I mean, they could very well just say, no, we're taking it all, but they're bending over backwards to work with the postal system, in my opinion, by leaving that handicap parking there for the postal service.
And I want to reiterate to add to that point that, it's an expensive project for our company to do. And it's only, it will help us during business hours, but it'll help make something nice of that downtown rather than just a rotting building. So,
Well, I'd like to put it in the form of a motion and postpone this until the next meeting.
No, we're not doing it. We're not doing that.
Excuse me, I've seen now the truck's going, you can go in there.
Yep. Yeah, you'll have to stand up and be sworn in, but you're welcome to.
Thank you.
State your name, please.
Robert Baca?
Please raise your right hand.
Oh, please.
Do you swear or affirm that you will testify truthfully here under penalty of law?
Yes.
All right, I've seen a truck come in, knock down this alley right here. But they actually turn in right here in between the back of the building here to the concrete edge right behind the two boxes. They'll pull in straight to there, pull up and get back right into this.
So how do they come off First Street?
I've seen them turning this way.
On A,
I've seen some coming from back here too. But whenever they pull in around the post office, they'll either turn in right here because it's concrete.
Right, they're not using that.
Turn in. And they'll pull straight in and then go back.
Okay, so they're not really using that alley.
No,
Except when they-
they're not
and if-
using this at all up here.
And they're not using the red part either, because if they're leaving through the parking lot, and he's gonna leave a place for the parking lot. For them to go through the parking lot, then they're not losing a darn thing.
You have a big pole here and a big pole on this other side again. I don't think they can do that.
But they're not coming that way.
No.
They're
They're
exiting,
leaving out and they're either turning down this way or they're turning down and going back.
right, so they're already doing that, so, I don't see where they're out any
Yeah.
inconvenience at all.
Thank you.
But anyway, that, I just seen them do that.
the
So
only
they're
thing I
already
see though is with the charging station right there, the trucks, when they come in the alley, like he was saying, if there's cars parked right there, the truck is gonna have to go around that to get into the parking lot to back in.
They're already doing it.
So what he was
They're already
representing
going
is
through the
that
parking lot.
they're coming through
And that's what
Yeah.
the post office is.
The EV parking would be
It'll
in
be
the red,
better.
so they're coming
This
in
will be
here
better.
and scooting over, and so we're actually getting rid of the wave and move it to the.
Actually, he's getting them out of the way. It's worse right now.
That's a
But
one-way
do they
alley
block?
anyway, going east
Yes.
to west, so they're going against the
Yeah.
one way to get in there, so if that was to be.
So they don't use that. It's a one-way alley. They don't use it to come in, apparently.
But if the truck is backed up to the post office, does it block
It's
that
one way going
little
in
road
from
coming off the First Street?
So they're.
You know what I'll do,
Trucks are
if you're gonna table it, is I'll go find some surveillance of that parking lot and I'll see where the truck's parked. And I'll take snapshots of it.
I'm just concerned if they block that half the alley and the truck blocks the entrance off of First Street. Then that makes the two boxes inoperable until.
I believe the trucks run 2 late in the night and 1 after 5.
Maybe, but
Yeah.
we need to know that.
Run during the day, so when we were at City Hall and they were never open.
I'm sorry.
When we were at City Hall, we didn't have any interaction with them during business hours.
I don't see where it's a problem at
I,
all.
I would think that
It
the
looks
current
like
parking
he's
lot
giving
with City Hall there probably blocked it more than we plan to.
Because we had a full parking lot.
Because they're not coming in down that one-way alley. Good point for this. So they're leaving through the parking lot already. So he's giving them more access and a wider space to leave through that.
But they haven't had a chance to talk to Beverly to figure all that out, so that's what we're thinking, if we let them talk it out and get a back of the napkin drawing. then we
Well,
can-
I think it's a good idea. I'm just letting you all know that's how I'm looking at it because from what we can tell, we're not being told everything and it sounded like they were coming down that alley to access that and it looks like, no, they're not coming down the alley to access it. They're coming off of A and to leave, they're not going down the alley because that's one way and they're going through the parking lot. So
Well, there's no way a truck and trailer could have come down that alley and made that little jog over to that parking lot.
Right, that's right.
Not with all the
But-
poles.
No way.
So they're, if he said they're coming off of the A and coming in. So, I think, it's been misinformed. It's whatever y'all want to do, but, I think it's making it better for downtown. It's making it better for the post office. They're leaving the handicap parking, so there's no problem with that. Most of the trucks are at night anyway, after the mail's been dropped off. So I don't see it being a problem coming around. I don't know. I don't see a whole lot of people. I've never gone to the post office. I always drop my mail off there. And I always turn right there between the two buildings and turn down. There's never a line there, you know, I don't know how much that is access. But you know, that's how I drop off my mail.
Any other questions, comments? I will entertain a motion to go out of public hearing.
So moved.
Second,
We have a motion and a second to go out of public hearing. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Bennett,
yes.
Mr. James,
Yes.
Mr. Rattler,
Yes.
Mr. Morgan,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes. Okay, we're back in regular session. I guess at this time, I would entertain a motion to table, to approve, or deny the vacation of this property.
Mr. Chair, as I stated earlier, I still believe we need more information. I don't think everything is clear. I would like to table the motion for the next meeting, get some clarity on some drawings. Who has access to what, give them a chance to meet with the post office. So I make the motion with it.
I have a motion and a second. and Mr. Davis that we table. Call the roll, please. Yes.
Bennett,
No,
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Reckler,
Yes.
Mr. Watkins,
Yes.
Ms. Baca,
Yes.
Mr. James,
Yes.
Okay, so that has been tabled till our next meeting and. We're gonna have to go meet with her and we'll, Kelly can sit down with you and you guys can figure out. Get a drawing. But. I think we definitely feel you're headed in the right direction. I don't think everyone's a little nervous about doing anything without at least stopping them.
Giving them a chance to.
Have their say. All right, our next order of business. Public hearing for resolution PC number 2024-2025-03. A resolution providing for a vacation of right-of-way of a platted but undeveloped road known as East 15th Street, submitted by Eric Segovia. I'll entertain a motion to go into public hearing.
I'll make that one.
second,
I have a motion and a second. To go into public hearing, call the roll, please.
Ms. Baca,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Bennett,
yes,
Mr. Simpson,
Yes.
Mr. Reckler,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Mr. Watkins.
Yes.
Okay, we are now in public hearing and Ms. McClellan, if you will give us the city's information.
Okay, so for this one, we're talking about the green stretch, which there's some, we're not sure if it's gonna be 15th Street to 15th Lane, I'll have to pull the original plats. But it's the green stretch we're speaking of. They want to have it vacated. As indicated there, the survey wasn't done in time to be brought to this, so if there is something that wants to be approved, it'll have to be postponed. So you guys can see the survey, but it can come up for discussion today, just for the approval. It'd have to come back next time. Next one, Mr. Chris. So we sent this out to 12 property owners. One property owner responded back for it. We had 0 against. We had the 7 certified letters to the public utilities. 1 was against, that was our water department. Mr. Chris Mendoza, who's the head of our water department, sent a letter saying, "Good morning. I have concerns about this area being vacated. The city of Portales has underground infrastructure there. The city operates and maintains a 12-inch potable water main that runs east and west down 15th Street from South Globe to Ithaca. The city also operates and maintains a 12-inch reuse main that runs east and west down East Mains. 15th Street from South Globe to Ithaca. My concern are for maintenance and repair purposes. If either of those mains require any repair and maintenance, we would need access for those reasons. Please let me know if we have any questions. When it comes to vacations, we always ask utility companies, would you be willing to do utility easement? Because these are mains, the city of Portales Water Department does not want to do the utility easement. They prefer just to keep control of the entire area. GIS, which is our addressing, he did put in his opposition letter. He just says, I'm opposed to both these applications, being 15th and then the one following, which would be Hartford. But his letter is more specific to Hartford. Ms. Chris, we go to the next one. There are 3 main utilities in this area: the city of Portales reuse line, the city of Portales water line, and the New Mexico Gas Company gas line. So if it was proved, we'd have to have some utility easements. And as I said, the Portales utility superintendent at this time was not interested in an easement. That of course can be changed at city council, but that was just his personal feelings on the matter. Ms. Chris, we go to the next one. Oh, go back. That is it. We do have, I believe the police are here to speak about the 15th. They had some concerns that they'd like to share in a public meeting. And I had a meeting with Mr. Rackler earlier, where he did say there were some other property owners that were outside our 100 feet who had some concerns, but it was his discussion, so I'll let him handle that. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to stand for them.
No questions?
I want to clarify on the other property owners. I did speak with someone that owns land farther behind Valencia. That were, when they bought the land, they were holding it for future development, and they were planning on at some point putting a development back there that the main access would be that 15th Street. Where the main entrance to the development would be. I did speak to Mr. Scobie about it, and I understand they could come up 16th and go down Ithaca. But I think that's detrimental to that subdivision to have to go down one street and then a side street to get to that subdivision. And so did the owner that I visited with. He would rather see 15th Street remain. And I'm unclear about who has to pay for what, but that's not really what our job is. Our job is to, look out for the citizens other than the one making the requests.
Since you brought that up, I want to point out, and we can't see it on this map, but there's access on the north side of that property. There's an access road on the north side of his property, so he wouldn't have to just have that one access. It's on the north side of his property. That's a dedicated road. Coming off Glow
Kilgore.
and Kilgore, coming off Kilgore. And that on that, and he goes up to that substation, but that is a dedicated road. And he can use that dedicated road to access, and which would be a better choice if he doesn't want to come down.
We're
16.
pulling up the map so we can see.
Yeah. Well, no, it doesn't go all the way.
It ends at Jackson. It ends at Jackson. Where that was. Yeah, it ends at. Yeah. And that was in fact in the planning.
Thinking there may be a small easement to Max Merrick's
No,
north of there.
no, it's all alleyway. Is that right behind Steve?
At least they were using.
What about the other side of Valencia? Where it goes back into that other little neighborhood?
I don't think it hits his property.
We-
But looking at the map, you can see, runs right down there. I always call it Steve Davis's place. It runs right behind his place. But it's platted as a map, as a road.
Is this one right here?
No, that's.
No.
That's about that alley.
Down farther.
You need
Go south, there you go.
that one right there.
I think that's part of the electricals.
That is, but it's a dedicated road. It's a dedicated road.
What road?
If it's a dedicated, why they keep it locked?
I don't know. That was my
That's
understanding.
easement to
Dedicated
for the
road.
electric company,
Or is that owned by the electric company?
It's owned by the electric company.
That piece of land is.
What's in Berkeley?
I believe some of them don't have when they're owned by the electric company. I'm supposed to include that one. I don't believe that one gives any other information. That one right there.
Yeah, I'm like, what's?
Yeah, that's the.
It's a substation right there. Yes.
And they have access from those. But I don't think.
There you go, all the way down
It's
to,
just
they have
that
access all
street
the way to the
in
substrate.
Valley.
If that's an element. On the backside.
For Mr. Rackler's point on the payment of 15th Street, the infrastructure is usually brought in by the developer. So if, of course, Mr. Nathan Dodge, we did say if that road was developed, it was part of his agreement he'd do in his 3. As far as bringing in the other 15th, if homeowners can face their developed roads, and they don't need it for the building permit, it would fall on the person who needs it for their building permits. So if the developer wanted to develop and no one here needs to do it, then it would probably be up to the developers in that back
Hey,
corner.
Mr. Chair, let me clarify with you on that. So let's say we come away with this, that Mr. Segovia has to do Hartford so that he can address and have access. You're saying if he doesn't put his house, faces his house to Hartford, then Dodge is required to take his road only to Mr. Segovia's.
Only if the 15th Street was,
But then who's gonna take it from Mr. Segovia's onto the subdivision?
that would be, that was put in Mr. Dodge's, but we usually only make people bring in their public infrastructure to build on their property. So if they brought in their public infrastructure, that's where 15th Street's kind of a weird line.
If I can.
Yeah.
Kelly and I and Sarah as well, Laura's started learning about our previous conversations, but we've talked about this pretty extensively. If you can let me show what we've worked out.
Yeah.
If you would like to.
Yeah,
get a-
do you have any other questions while I'm up? Or
No,
Not yet.
I think
We
we're.
might ask you, we might ask you.
if you got any questions, that's fantastic.
And I just stand here.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we scroll up on that a little bit? Chris,
Scroll which way?
or even if you want to go back to your slide, that'd be fine. Okay, well, first of all, I want to thank the city for hearing me out for the last year. I've been in the process of trying to get something resolved with this for over a year now. And you know, I probably owe these ladies a box of cookies or something as much as I've talked the ear off. So I do appreciate you guys hearing my concerns. Before I purchased the property, I reached out to the city, and at that time, these 2 lots were 5 lots, just like they are here to the south of them. And I asked Kelly, well, what do I need to do to build a property if I were to purchase 1 or 2 of these lots? And she said, well, you're probably gonna have to build the road in front of your property before you can get a building permit. And I understood that. And I said, well, hypothetically, what happens past me? And she said, well, and remember when these were 5 lots at the time, she said, if you strand a lot in the middle, let's say, and someone purchases it and wants to build a home there, you'll be responsible for building the road up to them. Anything adjacent to your property. And I said, well, I understand that. And so I went and brainstormed for probably a few months and came back to Kelly and said, hey, I got an idea. What if we split this into 2 lots instead of 5? Then everyone has access and no one has to access 15th Street. Dodge has access from this side, the Solaces have access from this side. Now, they have not combined these lots, but they do own both of them. On my side, I have access from Hartford, and this property owner, who happens to be my dad, can access from that side, and this property owner can still access from that side. And then we're not putting a financial burden on anyone to develop 15th Street, which was allowed to pass at some point in the past, when the developer never actually put the road in. Trying to find some solutions for everybody and try to see what we can do to make this work. Kelly said, hey, that sounds good. Sounds like a good plan. Everyone has access, but you're probably still gonna have to build Hartford. And at that time, so I understand. And so wanted to point out that that's why these are split into 2 lots and not just left as 5, if not only bought 2 or 3 of the lots. I did that so that we would never be stranding a lot. And everyone still had access when no one had to use 15th Street, trying to avoid, you know, any burden on anyone having to financially pay for that. And so that's where we're at, and that's why it sits as it is, and that's some of the solutions that we've tried to work through. Now, where I'm at for vacating 15th Street is I'm looking at it and saying, hey, well, actually, Hartford, and I wish these would have gone in reverse order, but I'll talk about Hartford because it pertains to 15th. I looked at it and said, hey, well, what's the quote on that? The quotes I got are nearly $50,000 for that section of road. I understand that, but I also am not a developer. I just want to build a home. I understand a developer having to go in and build in all the roads and curbs and gutters. I bought a lot, just wanted to build 1 house. And so I said, okay, well, what can I do? And then I realized there's never going to be a day that I'm going to wake up and say, yep, today's the day I'm writing a check for $50,000 for the city's road. And then I realized I'm not going to be able to do anything with this lot because I'm not going to write that check. And I don't think anyone else would, unless it was a developer that wanted to build the home to sell it. And so rather than sit on a property that's just going to be idle for years, I thought, well, what can I do? I can get funding for that road if I can wrap it into a home loan. Well, to have a home loan on it, I have to be able to own the land, the property. You're not going to get a loan for a road that you don't own. And so that's when I came back to the city and say, hey, what if we just vacate it? And figure out some type of way of addressing it. And then we don't have the issue. I can still allow access for EMS and, the police department. I can still get a address on there. But no one has to go write a check for a road that they don't own, especially just someone trying to build a home in Portales. So it's been over a year process to get to this point. When I turned in that application, I told these ladies, well, I might as well just turn in 15th as well. Since our previous conversations have led that no one actually needs 15th to access their property, it could be a convenience, I agree. Why not just try to vacate it as well? But I do want to point out also through the discussions, I understand that there's water and gas and sewer, not sewer, but water and reuse water through the property or through the roadway as presented. And it was suggested that we maybe change this into an alleyway and vacate half of the road and then allow the half that has the water plant on it to just stay as is. I'm just looking for a solution on this. I don't know what that solution is. These ladies can only go so far because they have to follow the ordinance in the book. And then we take it to planning and zoning to discuss what we can do. So here we are. I'm just trying to figure out a solution on that, whatever that may be.
Okay, on the vacating, and I hate that we're talking about two of them at once, but we're kind of tied together here, so we're kind of without choice. If we vacated Hartford, are you explaining to us you would still put that road in?
Well, I would at least put access into the property. I don't know if planning and zoning is gonna tell me, the committee is gonna tell me that they need to put the road in. If that's what you guys decide, then I guess I'll have to. What I'd like to do is just put the road dead ends now. I'd like to dead end the road and put a nice circle drive into the property. And be able to come out, but at least then I can finance the roadway and actually own it and not just be paying for something that I don't own.
But if we vacate, we're only gonna be if we vacate that road, half of it's gonna go to Mr. Solis, half of it's gonna go to you.
Yes.
So at best, you're only gonna develop half the road.
That's all he has to do is develop.
But are we
Lighting
then
is
gonna have
access.
to require Mr. Solis to do the other half of the road?
Yeah, I don't know.
Brings up a whole lot of
I reached out to them to see if they'd want to split the road before I came to you guys and they weren't interested. So here I am
We had.
trying to find a solution.
And Lighting did just build half a road. And it was down there where Ronnie Burt's on lives. And that's all he did. Somebody wanted a house and they did it and they didn't have the road. Then the city had to come in and
Right,
finish
we've
it
done
up.
it in Zodiac.
That's been some of the problem is the city has to keep up the roads. Isn't that why a lot of that was in this area years and years ago. That they didn't want to put roads in, they wanted the city to put it in, and the city was requiring asphalt or something at that time. Is that?
the old problem.
Yeah, that's what we
And-
had problems with developers in the past. And that's why this one got laid off like it did. Nobody wanted to do the infrastructure. So
Right.
we're back to, he knows as a property owner or whatever, he only owns to the middle of the road. Like Mike said. So that's all he's really required.
Well, I knew the owner of those lots and he put in 16th Street where I live. They made him put in full asphalt, not chip seal. And he says, well, there's only 10 lots over there. Why do I want to put 15th Street in full asphalt and only have half the houses? So he chose not to do anything. That's the reason it's sit there for so long.
But they were sold as lots, not like.
Well,
That's part of the question.
they were all subdivided to be sold as lots.
Platted,
But it is lots.
but we had this same issue with Mr. Lopez over by Prairie Town baseball field.
Right.
And we put the requirement on him that he had to have curb and gutter and asphalt before he could get building permit. And Victor Baca in that whole neighborhood.
Well, we let that other one go and just had curb and gutter on one side of the road and halfway to the middle,
Which others?
Don't you remember?
over there on the street that Ronnie Burt's on.
Remember Victor Baca?
Curb and gutter and asphalt on all of it.
Yeah. He wasn't happy with that.
So did you say
was
that
it-
the city
He was a developer.
really does not want 15th Street vacated at all?
That's what it sounds like. I think they're opposed to total vacation. Are they opposed to partial vacation?
Unfortunately, yes, we have, there's more than 20 feet between our gas line or our lines. So we have one line that comes, that hugs this corner right here, all the way down, and then we have one line that goes right in the middle. It comes up a little bit, and then there's a gas line that comes right through here. So there's really not half of the vacation two things that doesn't have utilities, and we can't turn it into an alley because alleys are 20 feet. But the utility lines, if we did that, there would be no room on either side to actually maintain them or do it. So Mr. Christopher Mendoza was against the vacation. He didn't want to do these things.
He didn't want to do easements even if he could get easements.
Yes, so this would be congruent on vacant easements, but he does not want to vacate the land. He'd rather have the full control over the entire area to do the repairs since it was an important water valve for him.
I don't understand not wanting to get an easement. It doesn't-
No, he doesn't want, since we already own the land, he'd rather just keep the land.
I
It has full control.
But I don't understand why he wouldn't want to do an easement and get rid of it, because I understand the city's trying to get rid of their land. So why wouldn't he want to, why wouldn't he be okay with an easement?
Just on this property, they prefer to maintain control. They're like 15 feet on either side. So when you have something that goes right through the middle at 30 feet, then they're gonna ask for all the way up to 45, 50 feet, so it might be a 10-foot vacation. So they really aren't, he just wasn't interested in using it for this.
Well, and if I may, I understand that. I don't want to cause a burden on the city. Appreciate everything you guys do. I'm just trying to find solutions for property owners. I'm the general manager of an electric company that does utilities. We get easement all the time for our facilities. No disrespect to them. I understand if you have it, might as well keep it. That's logical. But at the same time, we have a problem that's been passed on from a developer to a lot of other property owners. That's going to continue to be a big problem for property owners in the future. And so I just ask for your consideration to see what we can do to help the citizens of Portales on this. Not everything's black and white. That's why we have committees to where we can come and discuss things.
What would the city do if that all of 15th Street was paved?
It'd be the same, we have plenty water lines and use lines that are.
You just have access to those so you can fix them?
Yeah,
You dig up the street,
yeah, they dig up the asphalt.
and so if they have an easement, they're gonna dig up the dirt.
Easement.
Still got the issue with how you get into that piece of property behind the school. We gotta get back
You
there.
can access it through
There's an
Ithaca.
access right there. It's not landlocked. It is not landlocked.
You mean through Ithaca?
Yes, it's not landlocked at all.
Increase traffic density.
And I also want to say, I don't know what I'll do depending on how this works out. If I'll build there or not, even if I plan to sell the property after I find the conclusion of how this mess works out. I still wanted to bring this to the committee anyway, to try to find something, because I don't want to pass this on to the next guy. It's been passed on to me. And I just want to take care of issues and clean them up. So just for your consideration on that. And if we need to talk about Hartford before you can make a decision on this, or whatever we need to do.
Well, apparently we can't make a decision today.
Oh, we don't
I would
have
like
to-
to hear from those two back there.
Emergency services.
Mr. Chairman, my concern is where the utilities are. I mean, if the utilities were closer to the school, I wouldn't have an issue, but whenever you go over there and you vacate this property, which is where the utilities are, and he happens to build on it and there happens to be a water leak, I mean, we know, tell us, if there's a water leak and it's right under where he's building, what is gonna happen for him?
Yeah, he's not building on it.
You can't build on the easement.
Well, you say that, but drive around Portales and see how many people have built easements.
Well, but nowadays.
Don't say
Nowadays, you
never.
can't do it. No, I mean, that,
The intent would be for your fence and everything to be where the street is now. It's just,
Just trying to eliminate the issue.
it's not like you need more land, you got plenty.
Which part were you gonna build a house on? Which way was it gonna face?
Well, it's gonna save Hartford, that way I only have to pay for that much road, and face this way, and like I said, when I looked at vacating Hartford, I thought, well. If everyone has access to all these properties from these three, three ways now, then. Might as well try to eliminate that for everyone, this isn't just for me, it's for all those other properties. See if we can eliminate this problem once and for all for everybody. I do not plan to put a building over the top of. I just wanted to vacate it to where no one had to worry about it. And if it just becomes an alleyway, then that's fine too. And even if the alleyway stays the entire length of the width of that, that'd be fine with me. I just don't have to possibly financially burden poor different property owners.
And I can understand that. He's the one that's here talking, but what about the other people that are on there? I mean, I can see myself if I was to say, hey, this was, vacated. Hey, that's extra room for me. And I mean, Yucca is a good one, where that house on Yucca, there is a building that is built on there. And every time that the home is sold, they have to go into the city and ask for an easement because there's a building on there.
Right.
So we can sit here and talk to Eric, and Eric's gonna say, I'm not gonna build there, but what about the other residents or the people who buy those properties afterwards?
They should be told in the real estate deals that they can't, and when they buy it, there is an easement. That should be upfront.
And I understand that, but sometimes that does not happen.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to affirm that you will testify truthfully here on the Springfield law?
Yes. Ready for me to go?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Really, from a public safety standpoint, we don't have much of a concern about the Hartford part. But our biggest thing is about maintaining the ability to respond to the when, not if, there's an emergency at that school. So, all of the rest of it, I don't care if it's paid, developed, whatever, I just think we need to maintain that access. Because everybody knows when the fire department shows up, people bring them baked goods and things like that. We show up drumming, people are gonna become lawyers and try to sue them. So if we can maintain that, if the issue with all of this is just about developing this, and these people don't want to jump in with that. Just a simple thought is, if they don't want half that, let him have all of it, he can have it there, it turns into a cul-de-sac, and he can own it and do that. But as long as we have that access all the way down, so we can get to the backside of that school, if there's any kind of disaster or anything that goes on back there. Whether it be a grass fire, an active shooter, any other kind of thing, because otherwise, what you can't see here is that becomes the most locked in school in town. Our only access is gonna be through the parking lot. Because it's gonna significantly lock it up, because there's fence here all the way around it. There's curb that's too high to drive over. Yes, there are some gates and things, but somebody driving down there hits this gas meter that's down here on the end, then we have to get back there. Like I said, it's not a matter of how, we don't care the status, we just need that access for the if. Because it's all about the kids here, so. That's our biggest thing, sorry, Aguilar can go into the more dynamics, of why we want that. But we don't care about the Hartford part, we don't care about the Ithaca part. We are concerned about having that access to get in there with emergency vehicles if we need to. Because if we have to send cops running to an active shooter on that playground, that's a long way to die. Is all that is, right there. So, like I said, Sergeant Aguilar can further expand on that, but the Hartford part and how it's developed, the status of it, we don't care if you put rocks and boulders in there. As long as we drive down that thing, that's all we care about. from the public safety standpoint.
So if it was an alley, you wouldn't have a problem
No,
with it. So we've turned it from a status of a street to an alley.
that would be perfectly acceptable. But like he was saying, the issue would be for these ones, so if you leave it as a street that's undeveloped. And they decide they want to build. And they don't want half this road. That would be here, let him have it all, he can put his driveway there, still have a Hartford address.
Yeah.
And if these people want to develop, then they can pay them. I mean, it's an option to me that I see. So,
Well, if you change it to an alley, you would have to annex it back in as a street to do that. Down to, and you have one lot there that's kind of landlocked with Steve Solis's. I know he owns them both. But he has never combined them, so you have to assume he has some reason for not combining them. I know kind of what he has in mind, that it's not gonna probably fly anyway, but. Anyway, that concerns me as, not just yours and that, but, and then it still concerns me about the ones in fact.
I've talked to the Sauce family and offered to even pay to combine it with their approval. They said they would, if this went through, that they'd allow me to help them combine those two lots where there's only one access to 100% of part. That's okay.
Money's always new.
thank you. My turn?
Yeah.
More.
State your name, please.
It would be James Kathy.
Please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm that you will testify the truth here at the
So honestly, from the fire department and EMS standpoint, we're comfortable with whatever this committee and council decides. We're not for or against whatever you decide, as long as you have the knowledge that limiting our access limits our ability to do our jobs and could slow us down. That being said, again, we're comfortable with whatever the committee decides.
Thank you. So the resolution that we're actually voting on is whether to vacate or not.
We can't vote.
And we can't vote because we have to have. So we're just discussing.
We're just discussing right now.
Further discussion?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
You know, it's down for. You know, that bunch of your- Up and down. You know, for further discussion, so I have direction on what to do, because, you know, if it's gonna be an alleyway, I'll go pay for a survey that way. If it's gonna be a vacation, I'll continue to pay for the survey that way. If it's not, then I'll call it all off, but I'd like to know at least the direction we're heading. And if it's not gonna be vacated at all, I think that's fine too. I think Kelly here said that, you know, as long as I'm not the developer, I'm not having to pay for the road, right? And so,
Whole road when there's an easier way for them to do it.
and so it'd go to the easier path to get there. And I think that would be fine. I just didn't have that clear clarification on, you know, what I'm responsible for. And as long as I don't have to pay for the development of a road to a possible subdivision that hasn't even been platted, I don't think. You know, I think I'm fine with that too. And so that, if anything, satisfies me on 15th Street. I just didn't want to wake up one day and find out someone's building a development back there and I owe $200,000 for a road and I'm bankrupt by surprise. And so, but if that's the clarification, then I think I'd be okay with that too. So just let me know what we need to do.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, and I agree with that, as long as we're clear, Kelly, that he's not gonna be, because his big problem money wise is the stretch of the green road. That's on the longer side of his property, not Hartford.
Well, and the way to make it, as a safety commission still here, if you approve or deny his vacation, you put it in the minutes. Denied with the understanding that in the future, X, Y, Z, so it would be in the resolution and or in the minutes. Which would be a bit of a security blanket,
So when we vote on it next time, we can include that.
if that is what you guys wish to do, so.
They couldn't, that's kind of.
Yeah, just.
Can we,
There's no voting today, apparently.
If you don't have the surveys, we can't have you sign anything that you can't see. So we can postpone it, but this is a good place to get discussion for
okay,
any further direction. So.
any further discussion?
I just like the alleyway down. I like the idea of it being an alley.
Me
You know, I think that's for the safety of the kids. I also think it's for the safety of any buildings they put on there. I mean, back behind them, you might put a bar. Well, then if you had hay on fire, you get to it, it's down the alley.
Can we,
That's the compromise.
can we change it from an alley to a street? I don't know.
From a street to an alley.
Add street to an alley. I don't even know that we
Use
can do
for
that.
Sylvia, or the city would have to pay for the new subdivision plat, and it can be expensive, so that would be up to council on,
Leave it as a street and use it as an alley.
but it would have to go through the council to do an amendment to subdivision.
So.
Probably don't want to do replat. Like she said, it's gonna be expensive.
Subdivisions are expensive.
That's what we're trying to stay out of, is spending money. So,
Just leave it as the city said,
and just
leave it as a flatted street.
street and, not to be ever developed.
With the understanding of the vote that we clarify.
That it won't be developed.
It will never be,
Responsibility.
it will never be developed.
Well, it could be developed, I'm with her, it could be developed by a developer down there, if they wanna do the whole
Oh, right.
road. Go for it, if you wanna do the whole thing.
Right, because we had told.
Well, that's true. If the guy that doesn't like the Ithaca thing
Yes.
develop the whole road.
Because we
go ahead
approved
and do
Mr.
it.
Dodges with the understanding that if Mr. Solis was to sell that lot, he would have to pay for 15th Street to that lot.
But not to anybody beyond,
And he
Yeah,
agreed
that's
to
right.
that, past his property.
but anybody past this problem.
No, just his 300 feet.
What I'm saying is if it wasn't Mr. Salas that wanted it, but it
Oh,
was
right.
Mr. Segovia, not him, it's dad, cause he gotta develop it all the way down.
He was
Yeah.
responsible for his 300 feet. If that road ever needed.
Okay, just to the end of this.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So if the guy that's wanting to put in the subdivision says, okay, no, I want to use it 15,
They gotta put in.
you gotta put in the whole thing.
Except for Dodge.
Yeah,
It relieves
It
the
could be-
burden of the street.
yeah, and
these
it puts it back
properties.
on a
And
developer,
it's a situation or.
Well,
a
which it
discussion
should have
for
been
another time.
Whether
To
it's
begin
you
with,
that's
correct.
doing it. At some point, somebody's gonna have to pay to put a street in. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying only if that developer that's down there and doesn't like the Ithaca option, he wants 15, and he is a developer. He will have to develop 15,
Street.
and it's already platted, he has to do 15, he has to do all of 15.
Okay. That's it.
Because that's what developers are supposed to do, and he's gonna make money off of it, if he does that.
It does, but it definitely changes the value of that property back there. I mean, it's, yeah, there are other considerations, and unfortunately, the person I'm talking to is out in country.
Worth 100,000 of that whole road.
No, this is, that's what I'm saying, it's way down the road. Right, but unfortunately, I think that one I'm talking about is fixing to be on the market.
I think it's fair that if
And then it's-
it's a short gap, and they want to get a second entrance, then.
As a developer, they have to pay for it.
Yeah, but they have the option of doing it different more.
With the electric company and generation.
Yeah.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to go out of public hearing.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second from Mr. James to go out of public hearing. Call the roll, please. Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Ms. Fonda,
Yes.
Ms. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Watkins,
Yes.
Mr. Rackler.
Yes.
Okay, we're back in regular session. I will entertain a motion to table this until we have drawings.
Okay, I make that motion.
I have a motion from Ms. Bennett, a second from Mr. Rackler. Call the roll, please. Yes.
Rackler,
Yes.
Sanders,
Yes.
Mr. Watkins,
Yes.
Fonda,
Yes.
Mr. Jennings,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Okay. New business, letter D, public hearing for resolution PC number 2024-2025-04. A resolution providing for a vacation of right of way of a platted but undeveloped road known as South Hartford Avenue See no invite. Segovia, I'll entertain a motion to go back in the public. Hearing.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Rackler and a second by Mr. Watkins to go up and call the roll, please.
Rocco,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Mr. Rackler,
Yes.
Mr. James,
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Okay, we are in public hearing. Kelly, give us your.
Yes, sir. So this last one, so this is gonna be South Hartford that Mr. Eric was talking about. This is gonna be the red section. As Mr. Eric kind of explained, since it is a subdivision, the city makes everyone bring in their public infrastructure before they can get their building permit. So, as it is now, a building permit wouldn't be issued until that, I believe it's 126 feet was developed. Steve, our public infrastructure director, is the one who approves the roads, so we always send them that way. So the purpose of having this, having that developed so they have public access to public infrastructure for emergencies. So if they vacationed it, this would split half, and everybody's this half right here would be their access to the street, along with Mr. Sal's, of course, would have that access as well. The only issues that came up, we go to the next. So we had one for property owners, we had one against proposal wise. We did put under the water department rescinds their protest. They're the ones who protested because they were under the impression that they had a water line in there. That was right there, because it was shown in our mappings, but they went and potholed it because they weren't entirely sure why a water line would be there. They weren't able to find a water line. So because there's no water line, they rescind their protest, but we still have their protest letter, so we wanted to have it explained. It's Chris. So this is the meeting of April 2023. This is where it was, we discussed it during the replat. Where we were talking to Mr. Hatch about that road having to come in. We just knew it had been discussed before at a public hearing with P and Z, so we wanted to make sure we included those minutes for it. The protest we have is based on addressing. It is from our Mr. Johnny Ledbetter. He said, on Hartford, I'm really not sure what the plan is if the road is vacated. Depending on how it is done, my concern is that it could affect E911 and addressing on first responders. His concern is usually the house is facing the street in which they're addressed off, and they are connected to the street which they are addressed off. This house would be addressed off South Hartford, but would be located in the next block after South Hartford. So he had some concern about how his addressing would work, that it might become an audit for his finding. And then he had concerns that his addressing is used for police and fire. Which is one of the reasons they are here, so they can speak to it better than I can of finding it. Let's see, I was trying to see if there's anything else. I believe that's all that the city had on it. We did speak to Mr. Johnny Montiel with the county on his things, and he said he'd like at least to see 60 feet if we were going to address it off South Hartford. So at least it'd be facing the street. The city, P and Z is not for or against it. We just say it comes as a precedent that we've always made everyone bring in their infrastructure. If we'd like to see it or give some variances for that, that's definitely council and planning and zoning. But we do get a lot of requests. Can we bring in 10 feet and then do our driveway off of it? Can we do our driveway diagonal so it's touching the road? And they've always been told no. So this would just probably set a precedent. Approved, which is said is not a protest, just which direction you guys would like to take it. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them for you.
Great. If anyone else would like to speak for or against, I'd ask that you stand up. There, yes. I didn't know if anyone else wanted to.
So I do.
Yeah.
Well, hello again. I just want direction on what to do with this. And of course, it goes with 15th Street. You know, if I need to build the whole road, just tell me that. If I can build half the road, tell me that. If I can put a cul-de-sac there, let me know that. You know, I don't even know that I'm opposed to building the road as long as I know I'm not financially responsible for 15th Street. I just want some direction, and only way to bring that to a head was to bring it all to a head at a meeting, so.
Right.
Just want to be clear that just want some direction.
Well, it sounds like we do have an issue with the address.
Oh,
If,
sure.
yeah, you know, if he's gonna be on Hartford,
Yeah.
he needs a little bit of Hartford in front of his house.
I agree,
And,
So,
and precedent, like Kelly said, you know, we've made other people bring a road.
but I don't know,
Yes.
yeah, don't tell me we did it that way, because we're doing this because that's the way we've always done it.
No,
That's my
no.
biggest complaint about the
No,
world. is we
don't wanna
things
do
just
that.
Because that's the way we've done it. I don't see any reason why he would need to do the entire Hartford.
mm-mm.
I think as long as he did 30 feet or 50 feet to get his entire driveway on the street and his mailbox on the street, would that be a problem for fire and police as well? Would be my opinion.
I know.
Well, they still have the alley back behind, and then we still have 15th Street and leaving that, so that still gives them access, correct? Is that enough access?
As it stands, there's no alley there. There's no access.
There's no alley behind those streets?
It's flat,
No.
but it's not developed.
And there's no access off of.
Oh, it's just pasture, so there's no alleyway to those houses on that,
I don't think so.
Not on that side.
are there, are
No,
there?
Right, further north, on the north side.
On the north side. No, I'm talking about on this,
So,
This is all alley.
that's all alley.
Oh, right.
So-
On the south side of the north.
south side.
Oh, yeah,
On
the
the
south
south
side
side.
is, yes.
Yeah.
The south side's alley, so.
Yes, ma'am, that is.
Yeah, so that's,
That's where the
they've got enough.
utilities
With, if we leave 15th Street like it is.
Yes, the only downside about using alleys as access is they only maintain them enough as long as a trash truck can move through them. So we do have alleys that have those deep
Yeah.
holes, so if a fire truck is going at a high rate of speed,
And not all of our fire apparatus have the same turning radius of.
Right.
traffic.
And some of those alleys aren't wide enough for a fire truck to go down.
But if you were gonna access any of that right now, you're gonna have to use that alley. Or that, what's not developed on Hartford, your access doesn't change. All we're asking him to do is develop. Avenue. That's the road.
That Globe gets cut for the access off of Globe, so you can drive up on the north side as well. It's just not developed, you're just driving to a field, you can access it, it is there. So.
Mr. Mayor, did you want to?
I do have a question.
Over there.
You'll have it. Sorry. Yes, because we're efficient.
We're the only one that. Are the other unions ain't been returned.
You'll state your name, please.
Eldon Merrick.
Please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm that you will testify truthfully here in the law.
I do. Feel like I just got married.
Again.
Can you go back to the other slide? Okay. Eric was talking about not being able to get the money because that's not his property. So if he builds a driveway starting right there in that corner and goes into his property, he can pave that, it's on his property. Gives him access to Hartford that's already there. He doesn't have to develop that.
He doesn't, he could only, he could, if he wanted to, maybe go 10 feet. Or
I
20.
mean, he's got this whole lot here. I don't know where you plan on building your house, but if it was more in the middle of this, you build your driveway into it on your property. And then get the money to do that through your financing. And then you wouldn't have to develop that.
But then how do you address his property?
He has to
Well,
have
it's all Hartford because his driveway's right there in the corner.
But at some point in the future, if there's any more development to the north of there,
It's the school, that's the school.
on the other side of 15th is the school.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's nowhere to go.
Okay.
Just thought. I mean, the only thing that happened is somebody had lots of deep pockets. Bought that piece behind the school and decided to put 15th in,
Then
but it's not gonna affect him I was concerned about the addressing, but as long as he comes off of Hartford, addressing shouldn't be
I
an
think
issue for
the
it.
question here is,
Can we let a
can we?
driveway come off an alley?
But
Well,
he's come off
no,
Hartford.
no, he comes off Hartford, but how much of Hartford do we want to have him have paved, and then the rest of it, do we vacate?
Like I said, at some point, would it have to be in the future?
If a developer finished 15, 20 years from now, we might have to finish the other half of that.
Right.
The other half of,
Or wouldn't it?
he wouldn't have to,
Cause you got 15.
he doesn't need it.
So you gotta move it 3 years. You know what I'm saying?
The developer did it, he'd have to develop
If
it.
the developer wanted to.
Cause he's gonna go right to the back, so what you need is, if he wants to vacate it, we can tell him, we can vacate it all but 20 feet. 20 feet would be enough to turn into your property,
I would think so.
you know,
I don't know, what's required.
but 20 feet, you know, say, okay, we vacate everything except from 20 feet from here.
Besides 20 feet.
Right, so he can access his property. Also, it gives the other people access to their property.
Solaces.
And I'm gonna tell you, all he has to do is his half. Solaces, if they want their half, they'll have to do it.
Half of 20 feet.
Kelly, do we know who to go to get the recommended footage to get that address?
So
For
the
him.
addressing, that I spoke to with Mr. Johnny Montiel, is about 60 feet.
60
Can you
feet,
explain that?
60 feet to get an address? Let's, yeah, explain that.
Can you explain that, please?
Talk to us.
My lot's only 50 feet wide, so I'm not.
You're in trouble. You don't have to.
State your name,
John, yeah.
please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that you will testify truthfully here under penalty of law?
Yes. So, as far as addressing goes, and I can speak on the county side for now, we recommend 60 foot. 60 foot being that not only can you have a good turning radius for any type of bigger vehicles and maybe some, emergency, vehicles also, but it's something you can get a good turning, but also your ranges go from 0 to, in y'all city blocks, they can vary from 0 to 100. So you need some ranges in there. So this one would be, if you did that one, you would range it as basically 0 to 0. And so you can't get an address out of that because there's no range. So if you go to 60 feet, you can range it from 0 to 60. And then you have some numbers that you can pick some addresses out of. And it's not a driveway. I don't think if I remember right, the city does not address off of driveways. They address off of your frontage road. Off your frontage road. So like you said, the front of your house is only 50 feet? 50.
My full lot's 60.
So
Yeah.
this would be, I mean, 60 feet, split that in half, so you're what? You're going in 30 feet into it, and then you had that radius for that 60 feet now. Now, are you basing it off the edge of the alleyway? Are you basing it from the center line of the alleyway, or
Property.
where you basing, the property boundary?
With the development of the street would have to be from where it's developed now,
In my opinion, it would be based
from
from,
its current development to whatever we decide. Down south.
Well, there's the alley, and then there's the alley, and then it's gonna start again.
But isn't it Hartford all the way from 16th to 15th?
Correct.
And then that space that we're referring to as an alleyway is not the alleyway, it's the roadway.
No, we're talking about the alleyway on the south side.
But the development of Hartford stops at the alley.
Right.
Right now.
The development,
I believe actually it
The developed
develops,
part.
it goes up to the property line.
but this is all Hartford
Right,
and this is out.
right.
So he wouldn't be coming off of an alleyway if you gave him half of it.
Right, if you go
It
60
would be
feet,
Hartford.
Yeah, if he goes 60 feet, we're okay
But if we
with the
vacate it
address.
down the middle. He's
Yeah.
on Hartford.
If he goes 60 feet, are we okay with the fire truck? Get a fire truck into that house?
Most likely. He's gonna have a big old circle drive like Dodge, but he's
I just want to be able to, if something happens, somebody can get in there
He's
and.
got 60 feet on the backside.
Thank you. Okay, any other discussion?
What about a fire hydrant? Is there one close by there?
There's one on both ends of the school. On the ends of the school.
I believe there's one here. It's somewhere, it's right there.
But it's in that 15th Street.
I don't know if it had been developed enough to, on that end.
So
To
there's
have
one
it.
right there on 16th and Hartford. And then there's reuse hydrants at 16th and Glow. And then just north of Ithaca and Glow. And then there's another reuse hydrant on the back corner of the school lot.
Oh, I don't know, I'm thinking right now, okay. 60 feet. Giving 60 feet, Hartford 60 feet, and then from 60 feet up to 15th, vacate that.
Vacate everything. else that's-
That's that way he gets an address. That-
66 feet of vacation,
Yeah,
because in 126 feet or something like that.
yeah, so that way he has the he get an address, he can have the safety of fire trucks getting in. I think that maybe will solve all our problems.
I'll entertain a motion to go out of public hearing.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Watkins, a second from Mr. Davis. Call the roll, please.
Watkins,
Yes.
Hussein,
Yes.
Hackler,
Yes.
Jefferson,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes,
Davis,
Yes.
Hopper.
Yes.
So. No, we can't vote on the vacation.
No, this one.
yes, we
Just
can.
when we can.
Oh, we have the map.
We have a mission, we can vote on this
I
one.
will entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we vacate the South Hartford. Except for the southernmost 60 feet, which is.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion. It will vacate. All but 60 feet. And we have a second. Call the roll, please.
Watkins,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes,
Jefferson,
Yes.
Hackler,
Yeah.
James,
Yes.
Yes.
Passed and go to city council in 2 weeks.
2 weeks after launch.
Okay. Something is.
We're gonna come away with nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just, we were beating you up there for a while.
Said a little bit.
Wait till you got half one.
Yeah. So, any other business, Miss McClellan?
Not from staff.
Okay. There's no other. Okay.
I'd like to propose something to put on for vote on the next meeting. I don't know why it is, but this is the only committee, and I've been, I think, to all of them so far. This is the only one that does that swearing in stuff. I don't know why we're doing that on this committee. And no other committee. We don't even do that for a council meeting. I have no idea why we do it here and nowhere else. If somebody can explain that, I'll take it back, but otherwise I'd like to get that out of our procedural.
But those are.
If we start doing it at council meetings, maybe less people will comment.
I'm still gonna comment. Better get ready to be there longer, because we gave up about 20 minutes of just swearing in, and there was no reason for it.
Well, check on the legal.
Because they're just giving their opinion, they're not giving legal testimony, it's no different than public comment or council.
I've got a question. Is the scheduling always been the day before the council meeting?
No.
Is that just the way it goes?
We did it because, it used to be the week before, but then during big meetings, when we have 5 or 6, we would slow the agenda getting out on a Tuesday. So we moved it, so our stuff goes in on Friday, which means we had to push our schedule back.
I'm just wondering if it could offset the council meetings, if you could get something approved through the plan and zoning the week before, then you could actually put it on. the agenda.
I think that would be rushing our staff.
Yeah, that's what we did all last year, the year before.
I have to have the agenda stuff by Tuesday, so that only give them less than 24 hours, because the mayor has to approve it by Wednesday.
She's really good.
We got other stuff we're working on.
We were just overloading the schedule, if we have 9 agendas. and The city clerks and all that wouldn't have a chance.
I already asked that today.
I was just trying to speed the process.
Me too.
Anything else for discussion?
I have something. I know that we filled this out for the notification of the applications. I would really like to see these packages a little bit more earlier, just so that we have a little bit more time to discuss.
How soon would you guys, when the meeting is at this year?
We did, get them in an email prior to.
Right, but I just got mine on Thursday and I'd like to have just a little bit more time than that. Maybe on Monday.
I can send out preliminary packets with the applications that were covered.
That would be the way to do it.
Yep.
And I can do that with.
As they
with
come
the
in.
deadline, which is 2.5 weeks. I believe I sent it out like right after the application.
Yeah, I'd like to see them good. There was one owner I couldn't get a hold of in Thursday to now, and I just couldn't get a hold of. I'd love that one more
If
time.
you don't get the preliminary, let us know. We can't do the final because we give the deadline for the public hearing.
Right.
So I believe Friday before, but we can. still have the
We started
preliminary, So.
And I can start adding the mailing lists with the owners' names to those preliminary.
Anything else? I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Can we vote on that?
Adjourn.